whether you're licensed or not licensed, especially if you're licensed, especially. People get mad at me all the time because I say especially.
Especially.
Why would I ever listen to a guy that says especially? Because I'm rich. That's why you should listen to me. Because I know what I'm talking about. If you look at the beginning part is purchase and sale agreement. You want to make sure whenever you are buying a piece of wholesale real estate and putting it under contract and controlling that real estate that you use the buy side purchase and sale agreement. You're going to have access to two contracts, a buy side and a sell side. Okay? If you use the sell side, it's going to be real wonky and you're going to get real embarrassed explaining to the seller what's happening there. All right? So you're going to see right here at the top, this purchase sale agreement, the contract's entered into and between. You're going to put your LLC right there, right? Because you are the buyer. And or what does that say?
Assignee.
Do you have to have in a contract and or assignee to be able to sign a contract? Not necessarily.
Not in Arizona, at least.
Not in certain states.
Yeah.
Certain states, you're allowed to assign whether you say and or assignee or not. Now, is it better to just have it in there so that way you can do it, right? Because it's a term that you agreed on.
Yeah.
Now, let's say they assign that or they sign this contract, then you go to assign it and they throw a temper tantrum. Can they stop you from assigning the contract? No. No, you have the right to do it.
Awesome.
So we're going to put and or assignee with an address of, this is where your business, this is where your business address goes. Okay? So you're going to put your LLC and then you're going to put your PO box or your business address, wherever that is. You're going to put your phone number and you are the buyer. And, like with the taxable amount, and you're going to put the seller's information here. Okay? Mm-hmm. So your information goes at the top. The seller's information goes here with a taxable mailing address. This is not necessarily the property address. This is the taxable mailing address. So sometimes people own a property, they don't live in it, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're going to ask the seller, what is their taxable mailing address? And we're going to put that there. So your information goes at the top, the seller's information goes next. All right, so it'd be Sell Quick for Cash would go up here, my business phone number, my business address, and then Bob and Sarah Smith with the taxable mailing address of wherever they get their mail. Okay? All right, under property, this is where we're going to put the property address, and it's very important every single time you fill out a purchase and sale agreement that you also put in the assessor's parcel number. Okay? Assessor's parcel number. Sometimes, especially in states where the properties are really old, like we've done properties in the early 1900s where it's like, this thing was originally like homesteaded in the 1900s. And you're like, oh, okay, well, things change over time. Like, the old oak tree isn't where it used to be, right? And it's like, back then, that's kind of where
the donkey was tied up is no longer there.
6 paces to the right of the oak tree.
Yeah, you're just like,
Throwing stones away from Swagger's house.
And I can't tell you how many times a mailbox number changed or moved or something happened and the address changed or moved over time. And so you just got to use that assessor's parcel number because that's how they're going to actually look up all of the information about the property. So this is great to just put in there, okay? We have this APN number inside of the deal automator, okay? You will see the tax ID number, the assessor's parcel number in there. You can also just go to the county records office and put in the address and you'll get the assessor's parcel number. If you're a licensed agent, it's gonna be in the tax record section of the MLS. If there's a listing that you can find in the MLS, typically it's on the listing as well, okay? So lots of places you can find the APN number. Purchase price to be paid at close of escrow. Buy for the property. Purchase price is going to be, and you're going to put your purchase price there. Okay? Mm-hmm. Purchase price to be paid as follows. An earnest deposit of, let's just say $1,000. If I was paying $100,000 for this property, $100,000 would go there. $1,000 would go here as earnest deposit, and the sum of $99,000 would be paid at close of escrow. Make sense?
Everybody gets that, right?
Okay, very simple. These are not scary to fill out. This is why we go through it. Escrow agent is instructed to deposit all such payments, federally insured money market account, okay, blah, blah, blah. Immediate withdrawal of bank savings and loan institutional located in, this is going to be whatever state you're in. Okay, you're going to put your state there. Escrow agent, this is where we are going to hire an escrow agent. So we're going to put the name of the escrow agent there with the phone number located at the escrow agent's address. Okay? Escrow agent, if necessary, is authorized and instructed to prepare and execute on behalf of the buyer and seller an affidavit of property value is required by your state law. So I'd put Arizona there. Now this section's done. Okay, this is just us hiring the escrow agent. Close of escrow. Now we're picking the close of escrow date. The closing date shall occur on or before.
There it is.
Put 30 days out if you can. Okay, so you look at your calendar, you'll find the farthest date out that you think you can get the seller to okay, and you're going to put that there. Okay, and by the way, every single page, there is a seller's initial section. They will initial every page. Mm-hmm. I've seen purchase and sale agreements where they do not include this.
It's just a signature on the last page of the
yeah,
agreement.
and that means any of the terms could have changed and things could have gotten moved around. So you need them to initial every page.
And when you're going over these agreements with your sellers, I do this over the phone with them, and I go through every item on the agreement, because if I just send an agreement to somebody and cross my fingers that they're going to read it and sign it at the same time or revisit it a bunch of times, that can drag on and on and on, and that allows another wholesaler or another investor to get in the middle of the transaction. Mm-hmm. I go over this with them over the phone, and then I tell them, and then do you see, so all that makes sense? Do you see down there where it says initials? Go ahead and initial that for me real quick so that it shows that I did my job.
Keep it moving. They're going to initial every single page. This contract happens to have 7 pages in it. Whether you use a 4-pager or a 7-pager, the difference is just more disclosure. So sometime it can feel overwhelming to go through 7 pages with somebody. I always did that in the beginning because I over-disclose everything, because I feel more comfortable doing that. Your threshold for risk might be a lot higher than mine, or lower than mine. Lower.
Smaller
contract, smaller. Bigger, smaller.
Right in the middle, medium.
Yeah, you get what I'm trying to say. You're not gonna care, and you're like, I just need to get this money. Sign this 1-pager. Sign this 4-pager. So it's up to you which one you use. I like the one that has like freaking everything, but it also is a little bit more overwhelming to explain and for the seller to okay. Going down the next page. Everything else is just kind of like, you can read it. It's pretty standard stuff. When will the property turn over? What are they going to deliver to the buyer, right? It's like, is there anything specific we're asking them for title insurance or a clue report? A clue report is this when you call your insurance agent and make sure that hasn't been any major insurance claims against the property, okay? This section 8 is what I really want to focus on, which is the inspection period. You can see I have it built in for you that the buyer shall have until the business day before close of escrow, at which time they have the absolute right to cancel, right? It's my escape clause. Mm-hmm. So it's pre-built into mine. It used to say the inspection period ends on this date, at which point the earnest deposit becomes non-refundable, blah, blah, blah. I took that language out and had my attorney rewrite it to where it's just built into the contract where it's the day before close of escrow. Like I said, if they have an issue with it, handle that objection, write it in the sides, have them initial, and keep it moving. All right? Investor disclosure, we are investors. We intend to resell, make a profit, lease it, burn it to the ground, whatever the heck we want. We know that we're probably buying it for less than market value, and it's as-is condition. Okay? Remedies and cure period. If seller fails to comply, now this is talking, remember I said everything leans in our direction. If the seller fails to go and sign the final closing documents, buyer shall deliver a notice to seller specifying the non-compliance. And if the non-compliance is not cured within 3 days after the buyer notifies the seller, such failure shall be a breach of contract, entitling buyer to pursuant to any and all remedies available. You need to have this built in to your contracts, because sometimes a seller will just refuse to go and sign the final documents. They'll sign the purchase and sale agreement, but then somebody comes behind you, they offer them more money, and the seller thinks, screw that investor, I'm going to go get more money.
Yep.
Representations by seller, it's not used as a rental property, or it is. So you would pick which one it is. It is or it is not. It's a binding obligation. It's enforceable. The execution of the obligation on the contract was on. I know it's on ours. I know it's on the one we're actually using. I just didn't know if it was in here. You guys can read all these. These are just different representations. I was just seeing if the memorandum thing is in here. The payoff and the total. Okay, so section F. This is a best guess estimate. This doesn't have to be a perfect number. You can just ask the seller, what do you think you owe on the property? If they don't know, do you have one of your recent mortgage statements? We can look at that. But if they say, hey, I think I owe $110,000 on the property, you're going to put that here. The payoff of total of all loans, other debts, and encumbrances secured against the property is estimated to be $110,000. Okay, we're going to look this up, and through the closing process, we're going to pull all the liens and encumbrances, and we're going to get a payoff. So, this just needs to be a best guess, because if they say $110,000, but there's $300,000 worth of liens of encumbrances, then it's like, yo, what happened? Oh, I forgot. I never paid the pool guy who installed my pool 5 years ago.
And sellers won't tell you.
Yeah.
They get tricky, man. Yeah.
They'll try to see if that just goes away mysteriously.
Other agreements, you guys can read all this stuff. Look, we said it twice. This is funny. This is how much this happens. As of the opening, seller is not entered into any other agreements. Other agreements, section 12. Seller is not entered into any other contracts purchased with anybody else. The property, should seller participate in another agreement which will interfere with close of escrow, seller will be responsible for any and all costs and losses to the buyer.
Boom.
So we have half of it. We just need the other half. Okay.
There we go.
All right, property condition. You might want to take this out of your contract. I leave it in. If they say anything, I just say, we'll just line that out. Marketing. This is important to have in there. We're just disclosing that the seller understands that we're going to be marketing the property from the moment we sign this contract. Right? We're marketing the property, and we have the right. Doesn't mean we're going to do it, but we have the right to advertise the property for sale or rent as a principal to this contract, not as the seller's broker, agent, or representative. We can place signs and advertise online the property. If the property is vacant at opening, buyer reserves the right to install a lockbox on the property, and we'll get a key to the property, so now we can show it to prospective buyers. You guys can read the rest of this, but this is giving us permission as a wholesaler to market the property, right? Full disclosure, overly disclosed. But what does this mean? You're going to sell the property? Yes, I'm an investor.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
And I'm not going to wait till close of escrow to start that process. I want to get a jump on it, because every day after close, I'm responsible for the property. I'm paying money. Sometimes we're going to get a construction loan to work on construction, or sometimes we're using hard money to secure the property, and that has interest payments on it. So the longer time this takes for us to exit, the less and less profit we have. So we want to get a jump on this right away. Section
16 is really important, whether you're licensed or not licensed, especially if you're licensed. Especially. People get mad at me all the time because I say especially.
Especially.
Why would I ever listen to a guy that says especially? Because I'm rich. That's why you should listen to me. Because I know what I'm talking about. Agency is... Dave Chappelle.
Anyway, get back to especially what you were talking about there.
Okay. Let's especially see that.
I know. This is important because you need to disclose if you're an agent or not.
Absolutely.
A lot of times after you solve the seller's housing pain, especially if they're in pre-foreclosure, they are going to get immediate amnesia and think that you gave them a loan. Or they're going to think that you're their agent on their property.
Oh my God.
This happens almost all the time.
Yes.
It's like they're behind $15,000 in late payments and penalties and fees. The foreclosure is on Friday. We just had a 4-hour meeting, walked through all their options. They chose, I want to stay in my property. I want to stop the foreclosure. I want to sell my property and stop the foreclosure, and I want to get my equity out of it. As soon as you stop the foreclosure, they're like, oh, I thought you were giving me a loan so I can live in my property forever. And you're like, no. And then the sweet old lady turns into a devil lady.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, what happened to you? Like, why is this going sideways on me? And that's because we didn't disclose properly. Everything's got to be written down.
Absolutely.
So seller acknowledges that seller has not been represented by buyer, okay? And you can put your name right there, or by any representatives of the buyer, respect to the purchase sale of the property is contemplated by this contract. Seller agrees and understands that the buyer and buyer's representatives are not acting as seller's broker or agent for this transaction and have been acting solely for the buyer's own benefit as a principal to this transaction. Seller is aware that Cody Sperber is a or is not a, right? So you're going to either change it to not or you are. Right, is not a licensed real estate agent in the state of Arizona. Okay, and then you can read the rest. We have a separate initial just for this. Then they're going to initial the bottom of the page as well. Very clear what's happening here. Section 18, assignment and release. Seller agrees and acknowledges that the buyer may assign its rights under this agreement to a wholly or partially owned entity of the buyer or third party that will close directly with the seller. If assignment takes place, seller agrees to release buyer from any liability or duties under this agreement. Right? Wholesale clause. Scroll down. The time is of the essence. Okay, you'll see little state, so you're going to put Arizona there or whatever your state is.
Whatever state you're in.
Yep. They're going to initial. You guys can read all this stuff. These are all just legal mumbo jumbo. And the next section, governing in the state of Arizona or wherever you're doing your real estate deals, okay? County of, state of, so it's pretty easy. We're going to be in the state of Arizona, whose courts have jurisdiction over any legal proceedings or actions rising out of this contract. Maricopa County in the state of Arizona shall be the place and the venue of such proceedings or action. So you'll put your state and county there. Acceptance. This is like a shot clock clause. Right? So essentially, sometimes we tell people this contract good until Friday. We're leaving it with you. Sign it or don't sign it. Right? It's a shot clock. So we're going to say this contract shall remain in full force and effect until 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time p.m. on a specific date. If at this time the seller has not executed and delivered a fully executed original agreement, this contract shall become null and void.
Yep.
It's a shot clock clause. This
Now,
is what happened.
why would we want to do that?
Because they told us no.
Yeah.
They told us no. They don't want to sign our agreement. Hey, I'm the type of investor that's serious about buying, so I'm going to put it in writing.
Yep.
This is really good for you because one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to eventually sign it because you realize that I'm really serious and that this is a fair and reasonably priced offer, or you're going to use my contract to go get a better deal for yourself.
That's my big thing, is that they're going to take your contract and shop it
Yeah.
around. Cody Sperber said he'd pay me $210,000.
Yeah.
And it's
Can you
in
better
writing.
it?
Right.
And then they look at that and they go, well, that contract's canceled. I mean, he said he would, but he's not even in the running anymore. So I'll give you $206 because his contract's void. So now that whole shopping the contract thing just went right out the window. And they know that the seller would accept $210 from Cody. So, but that contract's gone.
Yeah.
And so now they're going to say, well, I'll give you $206. Yeah. And they're going to say, "Oh shit, I'm going to call Cody back.
Yeah.
See if he'll renew the 210 because I can get that done." So it just puts things in your favor, and it disqualifies them from being able to shop your contract.
Yeah.
And that's a big reason why when I send out a contract, after I get that verbal acceptance and I send that agreement out, I tell them, "Listen, I'm going to be presenting you with my offer. Are you going to be near a computer so that we can hop on a call and go over it together?" And they say, "Call me at 2:15." Great. What time am I going to send that contract in the email? At 2:15. And I'm going to get them on the phone. I'm going to say, open your email. It should be there. Let's open it up together. Make sure I didn't go over any typos. And I want to go through it with you to make sure that we're on the same page as discussed.
Yeah.
And then you get that contract signed and executed over the phone with them. And then it's buttoned up and done. When you just send it out to them willy-nilly and be like, gosh, I hope that they sign it by Friday. Hope it's not a strategy.
Yeah.
Right? So set up the time. Present them with the contract and go over that with them. Now, sometimes you'll go over it with them, and this has happened, and they say, it totally makes sense to me. I just need to take this to my wife and go over it with her. No problem. is there a time when I can be on the phone available with
Commitment.
you guys to connect together? Because I know that you understand this, but she may have questions that you don't have answers for. And for the sake of not wasting your time, is there an opportunity for us to be on the phone together so that I can go over this with her as I've done with you? Yeah. And obviously, if it makes sense to you, you guys have been married for 25 years. I'm sure you guys are on the same page. So it'll be a very easy, simple phone call.